What's up, everybody? How's it going? Stabman coming back at you today with another DVD update. That's right. Just like I said the other day, I am still buying DVDs because there are certain movies that you just can't get on Blu-ray. Or if you can get them on Blu-ray, you can't get them on Blu-ray in the States. So, yeah, it still warrants picking them up on DVD just because it's simply the easiest way to get them. And because it's the only way that it's available in my country. I don't know what else to say to that, you know. There's a certain movie that I have been a huge fan of for a long time, but it's never really been on sale for a really decent price. In fact, over the last few years, the DVD of this has gone for like $10 plus for just several years on end, just never dropping below that $10 price point for a DVD, mind you. And I'm just like, we live in the age of Blu-rays now. Blu-rays, I can go down to the store and get a Blu-ray that I want for between $5 and $10, but I can't get the DVD that I want for less than $5 to $10. I mean, come on. So, needless to say, when it finally went down in price, and I finally found it for a decent price recently, I said, it's about time. But, and what movie was that, you might ask? Well, if you've read the title of this video, then chances are you know already, but yeah, I picked up Idiocracy, finally. Yes, it is in this newer case with the newer artwork that I'm not really a fan of, but it's not too bad. At least it has Brondo on it and all that. Brondo. Scott What Plants Crave, man. I really like this movie, which is why I picked it up first for Sean. When I got that for Sean, I took advantage of like a coupon that I had with Best Buy. So they had it for $10, and I had a $5 off coupon. So I got it for $5 on Best Buy. And that was for Sean's package. So when I sent that out to Sean, it was because I got a deal on it. And I was like, you know what? I want this for myself, but I also want Sean to watch it because I knew Sean would love that movie. And I also knew he didn't have it yet, and he hadn't seen it yet. So I was like, you know what? I got to be the good friend here and make sure that Sean gets this movie and that he watches it. And as most of you know, he has since seen it and loved it. So, or most of you probably know at least. People in the DVD collecting community here on YouTube probably do. But anyways, yeah, I love Idiocracy. I'm a huge fan of Mike Judge. I'm a huge fan of almost all of his work. I even kind of liked Extract a little bit, although I don't think it was his best work. I still think it was pretty entertaining. But yeah, I mean, Office Space was absolutely excellent. Beavis and Butthead Do America, like better than the original cartoon series in a lot of ways. Idiocracy, honestly, if I had to choose between Office Space and Idiocracy, I would say that Office Space is still a lot more relatable and better in certain ways than Idiocracy. But that being said, this is an absolute cult classic, and it's an absolute must-own simply because of how hilarious it is and how dead-on the social commentary in this movie is. I mean, obviously, if you've seen it, you know that it's just rife with all kinds of hilarious social commentary, and honestly, it's one of the greatest comedy movies that have come out of America in the past 15 years, I would say. The movie studios apparently just hated it and buried it, essentially. They released it on like less than 10 theaters, and barely anyone ever discovered this movie or found out about it. I mean, there was very few advertisements for it. Very few people actually knew about it. Even Mike Judge fans didn't know this was being made. And you know, my first experience was, I believe, seeing it on Comedy Central at some point in the mid-2000s and just laughing my ass off, being surprised that this had even been made. And I didn't even realize it was a Mike Judge movie the first time I saw it. And then, you know, subsequent viewings, I discovered that it was a Mike Judge movie. I'm just like, How did a Mike Judge movie this good not get played in theaters? Well, it's one of those movies that the studios are like, well, we want to shy away from this. Nobody's going to like this. So we're going to try and hide this from public view as much as possible and not put it in theaters because we don't think it's going to sell. Years later, they have been proven so wrong, and yet they still haven't put it on Blu-ray. Go freaking figure. So, yeah, another case of studio interference, folks. Go figure. Studios, what the hell is wrong with you? I mean, really, you don't get it, do you? You don't understand when you've got gold. I have no doubt that this is the reason that he got to do Extract, by the way. I mean, somebody somewhere saw how great Idiocracy was. And they're like, holy crap, this is lightning in a bottle. This guy knows what he's doing. He made Office Space. He made Beavis and Butthead Do America. He made Idiocracy. This guy is hilarious. If he puts out another comedy movie, it's going to make a lot of money. Sadly, Extract also kind of had issues. Different issues, mind you, but, well, maybe some of them are similar, but most of them were different issues entirely. And, yeah, it's sad to say because it's not that bad of a movie. It's just maybe not its best movie, but whatever. I still kind of liked it. Might pick it up at some point, but I don't really have any plans to right now. That being said, I'm glad to have Idiocracy on DVD at least. This comes with 5 unrated and deleted scenes, and those are the extent of the special features. So yeah, jam-packed. Well, about as much as you could expect for a movie release from a studio that clearly just wants to bury this, but can't because it sells too well, because they're freaking idiots. But anyways, comes in an eco case, but at least the disc art is kind of cool. I like this. You can see no books, no reading, no brain, no books, no problem. Yeah, that's kind of funny. But regardless, I mean, this is just one of those movies that I like to pop in and watch every now and then. It's really one of those movies that it's one of my favorites, right? So I want to watch it quite frequently. Maybe not very frequently, like maybe once a year or something like that, but it's definitely one of those movies that when it's not in my collection, it's just like, oh, need Idiocracy. But I did want to talk just for a second about, how I discovered it through Comedy Central and stuff like that. There were a lot of movies. In fact, I would say that I kind of became a movie buff. And I know a lot of you can relate to me out there on this, and that's why I want to talk about it. But maybe even this becomes its own video subject, but at some point. But I wanted to talk about how, just like a lot of you out there, I really did become a movie buff simply by watching movies that came on TV. And I'm not talking about on like HBO and Showtime and Cinemax and stuff like that. Although, from time to time when we did have access to those channels, it was a boon. It was an absolute boon, and I watched quite a few movies frequently on those channels when I was a kid. That being said, the majority of the movies I watched were edited for television because they were on channels like USA, TNT, TBS, Comedy Central, Sci-Fi, all those channels that would just show on weekend, like Sunday afternoons and stuff like that. They'd show, like, maybe not I don't think they always showed marathons of movies, right? But they frequently showed movies just randomly during the day. And so, I'm looking for something to watch, and my favorite television show isn't on, so I look for a movie that I enjoy on those channels. And so that's how I got to watching all these movies over and over and over again and falling in love with them. And the more you watch movies over and over and over again, the more you see different things in them and you learn about film. Just passively, you learn about film through that process. And I feel like that's what a lot of movie buffs are all about nowadays. A lot of movie buffs and even people making films today are who they are where they are, and like movies the way they do for the reasons that they do because of that cable atmosphere that was created for them, unintentionally so perhaps, in the late 80s, early 90s. And I absolutely love that. I love that this existed, this time period, this movement happened, and nobody really talks about it. Nobody really references it. Nobody really, gives any respect to it or recognizes it as an important moment. Because I'll tell you what, I'm not the first person that I've heard talk about these kinds of situations where when they were younger they would watch movies on cable television, edited to crap and back, but they would watch it that way, and that's how they got into film. And you know what? When so many people were affected by something like that, that's a fucking movement. That's something that's important to understand about film history. And so I just think it's kind of cool that this is probably one of the last movies that I discovered through that medium. And I don't really use cable television anymore. In the future, cable is about to die off. I'm sorry, it really is. Cord cutting is a huge thing now. We've got streaming, digital media through Netflix. The cable industry is suffering. When it comes to cable television, it's not going to survive. In another 10 to 20 years, it's probably, maybe only the remnants of cable television will be left, right? And even then, there won't really be that much there. So it's crazy to me to think that there was this time period that future generations won't even be able to relate to, because they won't even know what the hell cable was. They'll have no concept or understanding of what this was. And yet it influenced a generation of film buffs. It's really cool. And maybe I'll get into it at some later point. I've talked to Skinslip about this in the past, and I know that he wants to do a movie, or not a movie, but a video on this. And hopefully this inspires him to get off his ass and do that. I would love to see a video from him on that subject, because I think he has even more to say about that than I do. So yeah, I think this is really cool, just from personal experience, for personal reasons to me, that this is probably one of the last movies that I discovered that way. I almost want to start a collection based on movies that I discovered through cable television. It was huge, it was important, and it's being ignored and forgotten, and that needs to stop. So yeah, regardless, I would say that cable television kind of made this movie what it is. The reason that this movie is even popular as a cult classic today is because it aired on cable television, because the movie studios didn't really want to put it anywhere that they respected, so they put it on cable television, and lo and behold, a generation of kids who had grown up watching movies like this latched onto it. Because that's what we do, man, I love it. We saved this movie, people like us. So, yeah. Gotta love Idiocracy. One of the greats. And if you're wondering how much I picked it up for, just as I was able to pick up Sean's copy for $5, this was $5 buckaroonies on Amazon recently, and I picked it up for that. $5, not too bad, considering that I've been waiting for it to drop to that price for a long freaking time. But yeah, that'll do it for today. Thanks for watching. Catch you later. And tell me what you think about that whole cable introducing you to movies thing. Tell me if you were kind of like I was when I was a kid with that kind of stuff. Tell me if you're a part of that generation too. Speak up and be a part of this little movement. Anyways, thanks for watching. Catch you later. Peace.